Hello again, everyone. I'm here to talk about a film that I watched recently and I enjoyed, and that was the sequel to My Hero Academia film, Heroes Rising. Heroes Rising talks about Class 1A now have their provisional licenses, and with those licenses, they're able to do legitimate hero work. So for a brief time, they're given the responsibility of taking care of a very small island with a population of about 1,000 people, Nabu Island. And now Nabu Island, there's not really a whole lot of anything going on, and so it seemed like, okay, this is a safe first time out of the gate type thing. The kids are going to be okay. No, that wouldn't be an interesting movie. That wouldn't be interesting at all. So what happens is a offshoot group from the League of Villains decides to attack Nabu Island, and there's only 4 villains, right? The main bad guy is a villain called Nine, and I'll get to him in a little bit. It takes a while to explain. And he has 3 subordinates. Chimera, aka Fuzzy Godzilla, and I mean that because, like, he's pretty OP, like, insanely OP. He is called Chimera because he has, like, different animal parts. You know, like, he has the wolf's head, and he has eagle claws, and a crocodile's tail, and things like that. And fire breath. Like, once he gets into his final boss mode, he he doesn't just breathe fire. He breathes like super lasers. It's pretty ridiculous. But anyways, I'd say he's the right hand just because it seems like their whole deal is like, oh, we only choose the most powerful, like, to be like part of our group. But like, he's with Shigaraki. Short term, Nine thinks that he's gonna create a new world order. It wouldn't be a supervillain if he had any lower expectations. I mean, right? Seriously. Okay, his other subordinates. So there's Chimera, aka Fuzzy Godzilla, and yes, I'm gonna keep calling him Fuzzy Godzilla because that's essentially what he is. There's Slice, which is a woman that manipulates her hair as a weapon. Enough said. Seen it before, time and again. Nothing particularly special there. And then you have Mummy. What does Mummy do? He has these wrappings that he wraps inanimate objects in, and then he can turn them into, like, puppet golems. Spoilers. In general, me saying that, in general, spoilers. Okay? But, yeah, Mummy puppet golem man, he's the first to tap out. He's not that, like, big of a threat. But anyways, okay, so Nine goes to Nabu Island specifically to steal a quirk from a young boy who, when he steals this quirk from this child, it will enable him to regenerate his cells, like to heal himself. Now, I did say I was going to talk about Nine. Nine is all for one junior. He is called Nine specifically because he has the ability to obtain to steal and use up to 9 different quirk abilities. Those abilities include force fields, lasers from his fingers, because, style, I guess. Air manipulation, which he uses as, like, both offensively and defensively. Weather manipulation. Weather manipulation specifically, like, to cause catastrophic lightning strikes. There's a scene in here where the city where he just caused incalculable property damage and fires, to the point where I thought to myself, how did they get off, like, him and his cronies, how did they get off this, wherever they were? Because Japan consists of a lot of islands. How did they get wherever they were going because he pretty much destroyed a city. And this is within the first, 15 minutes of the movie. But apparently that flew under the pro hero's radar. And so he was able to make his getaway to Nabu Island to steal a quirk ability from a small child. That one is pretty insane, and he uses the lightning strikes, he cheeses the lightning strike, pretty badly. Then, of course, there's Quirk Theft, 5. Quirk Sense. He's able to determine what type of quirk someone has, and determine if that's going to be of use to him, and then steal it. At least theoretically. So there's Quirk Sense, so that's number 6. Flight. Flight specifically via laser butterfly wings. This is an action movie based off a shonen anime. Would you expect anything less? You shouldn't. Anyways, and number 8, which is technically his last power. I say technically because he has a 9th spot, but doesn't get to fill it. Once again, spoilers. So, power number 8, back dragons. He can literally manifest dragons out of his back. He already has force fields, but they're not comprehensive. They're not he can't just protect himself in a force field bubble. So occasionally one of our young heroes theoretically could, they're going here, they're going there, they can outmaneuver him, and they can, outflank him. Nope! Because that's why you have back dragons. I don't know how else to describe them. They are literally it looks like giant water dragons from his back. Kind of like a scorpion tail, but they're just straight up dragons. I can't really say it's wonderfully exotic, and back dragons. Back dragons. I'll stop saying that now. Okay, so anyways, so the 3 villains attack, and immediately they devastate the island. The heroes, Class 1A, finds out what their scheme is, and the scheme is to do harm to this child. And so, of course, they're not going to stand for that. They're not going to, let that happen. So they coordinate 3, counteroffenses, for all of these villains. You have the 3 subordinates, and you have the main bad guy, 9. Eventually, they do deal with the 3 subordinates. Chimera is very close to being the best battle scene with the heroes that fight him. One of the heroes is Todoroki, and a kind of a criticism that Todoroki has had in the past is that he's a bit OP. He's a bit overpowered, and so there's not a whole lot that can challenge him. Fuzzy Godzilla nearly kills him several times. It's actually just pretty insane. I'm honestly kind of surprised that he's not the boss of this, because he's the best thug. I could definitely say like that, but I'm really surprised that he's just not a bigger part of the My Hero Academia storyline. Just because this is an interesting character, and to have him be involved with the League of Villains, I think that would be very, very, very interesting. I think he would be a fan favorite among the villains if he went any farther than this. But being that this is a movie and a shonen franchise, this is pretty much stopgap. We all know this. Anyways, but when it comes to 9 and his battle with the heroes, I was legitimately concerned. I surprised myself. I was legitimately concerned. Just how long can Class 1A hold out? And like I said, they coordinated a battle plan against all of these villains, and they're actually holding their own really well. That's one of the things I really appreciate about the movie, is that they show not just the tenacity. Usually shonen protagonists just show with sheer pluck they can win the day, but there was more to it than that. There was actually strategy and planning involved there, and so just the story overall was it was a test of their abilities. Villains come to the island. They seek a child's quirk to steal in order to solidify their leader's power base, and then just terrorize the world. Okay, the heroes do what heroes do, and they stop the bad guys. There we go. Spoilers. Come on. That's not even really a spoiler when you think about it, like even for a little bit. Anyways, but okay, so that's the long and the short of it. I do have, and I like to organize my thoughts because as you can see, it's kind of easy for me to get sidetracked with different things. So essentially, I'm gonna set this up in a kind of likes and dislikes. So what did I like about it? One, better action. I think that this film had better action than the first film. The first film was kind of like a tower crawl or like a castle crawl, like in gaming. Essentially, these kids, they're going up the tower to defeat a bunch of rando villain thugs, and they do beat them because, I mean, none of these guys even have names. I mean, come on, they're actually going to pose a challenge. But no, this film, Heroes Rising, it had better action. No class drama. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of stories with younger protagonists will usually have bickering and petty squabbles and things like that. But you could kind of see that Class 1A, they understand what their mission is. They know what they've signed on for and what they've signed on to do. And so they just go to work. Okay, these villains are attacking this island that's under our protection, so we have to protect it. There we go, enough said. Okay, and they formulate a plan, and then they enact the plan. Also, great climactic battle. I was into this about as I was into the climactic battle of Into the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's been a while. The Avengers films are great, but of course, as we all know as the audience going into this, of course the heroes are going to win, and they have the budget for the best special effects and whatnot. But it's a lot of this just had a better feeling too. The climactic battle was really surprisingly enthralling. I was really concerned for the heroes coming up to the very end of this. There was also progress in Bakugo's story arc. Now, for some of you that may not have caught up, I do have to I've been saying spoilers this entire time, and I really have to enforce that now, okay? If you have not gotten too far into Season 2, then spoilers. You've been warned. Bakugo and Midoriya have now kind of solidified a positive rivalry. They've come that far in their friendship to where there's no longer a kind of strange animosity. And I say strange animosity because Midoriya, aka Deku, has usually been really submissive and allowed Bakugo to walk all over him and hurl insults at him and shout at him and things like that. And we get it. It's kind of to play up a funny sort of angsty teenager bordering on edgelord at sometimes with Bakugo versus the really passive and gentle Midoriya. That has thankfully progressed to the point where he's not just screaming every single line now, and he's not yelling at everyone all the time. He's not he's learned to kind of rein his temperament in, kind of coordinate his behavior. So now he can actually, he's more like a functional human being now. And so yes, finally, jeez. We get where his initiative is, and he wouldn't be in the hero program unless he actually wanted to be a hero. But he's kind of an angry first series version of Naruto. And that's the best way I can probably describe that, honestly. But all the same, he's made strides. He's made strides, and as a fan, I appreciate that. So, like, he's able to work with a team much better now. So, that's it. That's a good point. These villains were a much greater challenge for Class 1A, whereas in the first film, they were just a bunch of, like, rando hijackers, and it almost felt like Home Alone rules, kind of like, oh, the young kids, they can have a one-over on these stupid, clumsy adults, mostly because they're the main characters. I mean, that they're going to win. It shouldn't be easy. And the villain fights in this film are not easy. They're actually quite challenging. And once again, like, I appreciate that they're not just, slapdash. Oh, he's got powers. He wants to rule the world. There we go. All right, have him fight the kids. Yep. Yeah. Okay, he'll be fine. No one cares. But the villains are actually, for the most part, they're actually well made, and they actually do present a viable threat with at least two of them. Slice, which is the weapon hair lady, and Fuzzy Godzilla. Like I said, they really pushed the heroes in their towns to the edge, and I really appreciated that. It's very boring in a superhero film when you just see them win too easily. So luckily that didn't happen this time. Better villains, which I've been saying, like, overall. And now we move on to my dislikes. There's only a few of these, because overall I think it's a very good film. Dislikes. There's an annoying bratty kid subplot. Bratty kid subplots sour pretty much anything like that I watch. If there's a bratty kid. Okay, we have to drop everything that we're doing to deal with this bratty kid. This is what I wanted to watch in my superhero film. So pretty much what it is that this little girl, she doesn't believe in heroes, because it's kind of alluded to that, like, her mother passed away in an incident involving maybe like a villain and a hero or something. Don't really get too much about this, but she makes she makes like prank calls to, like, there's a hero center. There's kind of like a hero center where the heroes, they people call in. It's like, hey, we have this problem. Can you deal with it, like, for us? So she calls in twice. She calls in, like, fake crime reports, like, twice. Like, one that her little brother was missing. She knew where he was the whole time, and really it was just to pop out. Like, ha! It took you this long to find my brother. You all would have failed if this had been a real emergency. Look, fool me once, shame on me. And then there's, like, the second time where she said that the island was under attack, and she, demanded that heroes come out to defeat the villain. So these are, like, two prank calls. And admittedly, like, I know that things are, like, done differently in Japan, but that is against the law. Like, here in the United States, if you use emergency resources to detract police or police, fire, or, like, first responders to, like, ridiculous purposes, they're usually, like, finable, like, charges. I don't know if things are like, well, it's a little kid, granted. But even then, like, you would imagine that, and okay, they're unsupervised. But still, the idea of, like, I got away with it one time, I can definitely get away with it a second time. And Bakugo chews out this little brat because she deserved it. It's like, hey, don't do this. This is like, how dare you? What if there was a real emergency and we were here busy with this nonsense? All right. In typical Bakugo, like, in the one scene, it was very satisfying for him to just, like, chew this little brat out. That was enjoyable. So okay, there's an annoying bratty kid subplot. It's a fake villain takedown. Todoroki fights one of the villain's subordinates, and because it's Todoroki, he uses his overwhelming ice powers, his ice abilities. And I know I'm a nerd, and it's probably better if I was just to surrender my nerdy logic from trying to be logical. But I mean, I can't. Okay, like the way that he helps to defeat one of the minions, it would have just killed him. Suspend disbelief. This is the world of superpowers with superheroes and supervillains. Fine. But just the way that they, like, when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's like, that guy wouldn't survive that. No, that just wouldn't happen. So like, but if he killed the minion, then one of Class 1A would have been responsible for taking a life, and we can't have that. We can't have that kind of compromise with these characters. So that's out of the question. So no, but fake villain takedown. Like he definitely would have beaten him, but it would have died. So I was like, okay, but the logic of the film is like, oh no, he's also under arrest. See kids, he's fine. One of our main heroes didn't brutally murder someone with ice powers. Okay, good. Nothing to see here. Continue. And my last dislike is kind of a mixed bag. The climactic battle was stressful. As I said, the climactic battle, which centers on the main villain, 9, Midoriya, of course, is our main hero, and of course Bakugo. Bakugo and Midoriya teaming up, as true friends now, as brothers in arms. Better way to phrase it. But brothers in arms against this incredibly OP villain like 9. As I mentioned, he's all for one junior. He's just insanely strong and powerful, and just for the most part, it's just Midoriya and Bakugo fighting him, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But just it goes on so long. I thought that somehow they were going to suffer permanent damage from something there's this injury that Midoriya is never going to heal from, which is with his power, that's a significant concern. But with Bakugo, I don't know. He would. I tell myself this is a movie based on a shonen anime, and obviously more manga came out after this film, so obviously I shouldn't worry too much about these characters. But it goes on for so long that our two main heroes, they get curb stomped by 9 so many times. At one point, I just stop. Someone, and they do send off for backup for the other heroes, but of course they don't show up in time for the finale for the big climactic battle. But I was hoping oh man, this is painful. This is painful to watch. Goodness no. So the climactic battle, while I was invested and it was enthralling, it was also a bit too much. I would have preferred if they had just wrapped it up much quicker. We know what's going to happen. Kind of that's, for the most part, unless you're trying to be kind of like it's a deconstruction or kind of going against the grain. So I was or going for sequel bait. If this was just the movie franchise and it didn't have a larger story sphere to it, then maybe they'll lose, or maybe someone will perish in the climactic battle scenes. So tune in to find out if that happens and who that happens to. But we know that that's not the case, and wasn't going to be the case. So the climactic battle, while good, was very, very good. It just went on too long, and I kind of felt ugh. I'm just watching these two characters suffer, and that is kind of that's why that's kind of a mixed bag, and it ends up on the dislike list as well. But for the most part, I would say that this is a really good sequel. Because it's not a movie franchise. This is a good follow-up film. This is a good follow-up film in the world of My Hero Academia. If you're a fan of the show, I have no doubt that you would enjoy it. Like I said, great action, great villains, a good overall story, And yeah, this is going to be a really good installment. And so, yeah, If you watch My Hero Academia, I very strongly recommend this film. If you like this review, please feel free to like and subscribe, and maybe recommend it to people that you know. All right. Until then, thank you for tuning into Movie Ninja, and I'll see you guys later.